In an astonishing turn of events, it has never been seen or heard of across the world that 33 states in the United States of America have now sued Meta group of companies, or what we call Meta. Now, Meta, of course, is the company owned by Mark Zuckerberg, and it is a parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and also WhatsApp. But in an astonishing turn of events, all of these states, the 33 states, are now suing Mark Zuckerberg's company for emotional distress of young children in America and across the world. In today's video, I'm going to discuss everything concerning what is going to happen to Meta group of companies, or are the 33 states or are the people in all the 33 states in the US going to sue Meta and successfully succeed? Well, in this edition of Legal News Daily, let's look at everything possible concerning whether this lawsuit can actually go through and what are the possible defenses that Meta can have against all the attorney generals, in 47 number of them, all the 47 attorney generals who are suing Meta. So, welcome to Legal News Daily, and let's go. Welcome everyone to Legal News Daily. I'm your usual host Terry Kahuma on Legal News Daily, and welcome back to another edition. On this particular edition, we're going to discuss everything concerning Meta versus the 33 states in the US and all the hundreds of millions of people who are suing Meta. These are all concerned parents, and we're going to dig right into the video. But before that, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and most importantly, share these videos with everyone across the United States and across the world who would love to know all this information concerning what Meta will do, or whether the 33 states will actually succeed in suing Meta. So let's dive right in. Like I said before, Meta is a parent company of Instagram and Facebook. Now, long story short, parents in the United States are becoming very concerned that the 13-year-old children, or all children below the ages of 18, are using these smartphones. Now, we all know that smartphones have actually made our lives easy for the past around 15 years. But as time has gone on, these applications that we use are actually bringing adverse effects towards us. So now that is the angle at which the parents in the US are suing Meta. Now, the law in Uganda is very different from the law in the United States, but I'll give a very huge, small glimpse about what the law in the US actually states. They are basing this on the Children's Online Protection Act. They normally call it the COPPA Act. And this COPPA Act, which protects children, is mostly protecting children below the ages of 13 years. But it's no secret that children, even from 0 years to 13 years in the US, or in most of the 50 states in the US, have access to smartphones. You can find a 1-year-old who can even know how to play Angry Birds. Now, the parents are worried about the fact that Facebook and Instagram have very addictive artificial intelligence programs. First of all, we find that Instagram and Facebook have it that most people have a comparison mentality. So let's say, let me give an example of an 11-year-old girl who is actually seeing her friends having fun at the bar. Now, she knows that she cannot have the same life that her friends are going to have. So it's going to cause that emotional distress towards the girl's mental brain. And you find that so many parents are becoming very worried that my daughter is now comparing herself to, let's say, Mark Zuckerberg's daughter, or let's say Elon Musk's son. So there's that whole comparison bit, and now they have framed it under emotional distress. So that is the reason as to why many people in these different states, in the 33 states of Washington, New York, North Dakota, Carolina, New Jersey, to mention but a few, are all moving under their attorney generals to then sue Meta. Now, we started this lawsuit with 33 states, so meaning that every state in the US has its own attorney general, because the US has a very different system from the rest of the world. There's a federal government, and then there are also individual governments inside those states. So North Carolina will have its own attorney general, New Jersey will have its own attorney general, Washington DC will have its own attorney general. So all these people are suing under the attorney generals to then collectively sue Meta. Meta's headquarters are actually in California. Now, they have so we have all the 47 attorney generals suing on behalf of the people. So we have the American people versus Meta. Now, Meta released a press statement stating that the way business runs in America is that we're actually trying to make as much profits as possible, but we did not intend to damage the mental capacities of all of these children. So they actually feel disappointed that instead of the federal government in the US working alongside them. All the attorney generals are representing the different people who want to sue Meta and are actually suing Meta collectively. Now, that's all beside the point. These people are moving under what are called also tort law. Now, mental anguish, psychiatric injury, or damage to mental health is all under tort law. Now, what is tort? Tort all over English law, American law, or international law in general. A tort is basically a civil wrong. It may have a small criminal element to it, but in actual sense, a tort is, let's say, things like assault, battery, psychiatric injury, something that you would sue someone, not in a criminal sense, but you'd actually sue them in a civil court. So that is why they are not suing Mark Zuckerberg. They are actually suing Meta group of companies, or Meta, which is a parent company of Instagram. Instagram and Facebook have their own lawyers, but in actual sense, they would rather sue the bigger entity, which is Meta. So for example, most of you viewers Simply Legal know that I have a mobile app called Farmeron. So if Farmeron's app, or if Farmeron's artificial intelligence had it that they would show certain things which cause mental anguish to people, then they would not sue me, Terry Kauma, the CEO of Farmeron. They would actually sue Farmeron Applications Uganda Limited, which is the parent company of the app. So the ingredients when it comes to emotional distress or mental distress, like I said, these parents are actually suing Meta for causing emotional distress to their children. Now, what would the ingredients be for all the lawsuits, all the collective lawsuits of all the 47 attorney generals to sue Meta? First of all, they must satisfy this ingredient that due to Meta's negligence, or due to Meta's AI in the app, or in both apps of Instagram and Facebook, basically had a duty of care to the users of Instagram and Facebook. These artificial intelligence, or the AI programs which are running these two apps, must have a duty of care to be able to protect its users, in that I should not have to develop any mental distress out of using your app. That is what they're actually aiming for. Number two, that duty of care must have been breached, meaning by me downloading and using your app, and you making business out of me, or you making money out of me using your artificial intelligence, or me using your app, it should not be able to cause mental distress to me. So basically, owe a duty of care to me, in that by the time I'm using your product, it must be safe to use, both physically and mentally. And secondly, if that duty of care has been breached, what have you done about it? So we find that the fact that someone uses your product, you owe them a duty of care to be able to protect them. You must be able to rectify that injury that comes out of your breach of duty of care. So I'll give you an example. Firstly, with these apps, if Ford makes a Ford car, or if Ford makes a brand new car, and I go and buy Ford's car, and I find that Ford did not make the seat belt very well of the driver, and let's say I'm actually using the seat belt, I'm driving a Ford car, a brand new, like let's say Ford 8 Series, and the seat, I got into an accident, and the seat belt did not actually hold me tight when I actually knocked. So it means that if I do further investigation and I find out that the seat belt was not properly fastened, I actually have a right to sue Ford group of companies in the United States, so maybe Ford Uganda. So that's basically what the parents are saying here. The fact that my child, my 14-year-old child, or my 13-year-old child has downloaded Facebook or Instagram, my child should be able to use Instagram or Facebook, in that you should not be able to make business out of me getting emotional distress, if you get the picture. So the fact that they're seeing that most of their children are getting mentally sick, they have anxiety, they have depression, they have, let's say, post-traumatic stress disorder. If I'm seeing images of, let's say, the war that's happening in Hamas or Israel, then all of that is going to work on my child's mental capability. So that is what they're suing Meta for. However, in Meta's defense, they're saying that instead of suing us, we should be working together, in that we are running different applications, or we're running different models in our app, which are actually trying to protect children who are below the ages of 18. But it's not just children who these apps have affected. I've seen grown adults who are actually using their entire savings or salary to be able to afford the lifestyle that their classmates have, because they're seeing what they have on Instagram or Facebook. So all in all, that is the first lawsuit under which they are suing Meta for. The second lawsuit is that they're suing them for using people's data. Now, still on the COPA Act, which is the Children's Online Data Protection Act, we have it that children are signing up for Facebook, I'm sure all of us are users of Facebook or Instagram. By the time you're signing up for the app or you're logging in, they have to ask for your details. What are your full names? When were you born? And it's no secret that the new currency nowadays is data mining. So companies have been alleged to sell people's data to different companies for a very exorbitant fee. So the parents of these teenagers are actually concerned, and they're asking Meta that, are you people keeping our children's data properly? Are you keeping it safe, or are you actually selling children's data? So they're moving under the Copper Act, and they are suing under 2 causes of action. Number 1, emotional distress towards teenage children and underage children, especially below the ages of 18 and 13 years. And they're also suing for data privacy. They're actually wanting to know if you're recruiting children into Instagram or Facebook. Remember, these children are downloading your app willingly, and they want to keep up the trends with their friends. They want to fit in with their friends. So I wanted to explain everything concerning that. What is the future possibility of this lawsuit? Let's just see, because the lawsuit has just been filed in the California local court or in the California state court. But let's see how everything is going to go concerning Meta. What are the possible remedies for Meta? Meta, number 1, before we even go for a possible trial or everything, Meta, number 1, has to prove that indeed our business model is yes running on our artificial intelligence. Yes, it keeps pushing different people's pictures, or different, if Mary is using Instagram and she has, let's say, 500 followers, yes, she has a right to look at, let's say, Jane, who has 15,000 followers on Instagram. Yes, it may hurt her emotionally, but I think instead of suing us, you need to be able to prepare your kids, or we can have a different masterclass online about how to use Instagram, especially for more beneficial purposes. So Meta can come up with mitigation measures. Number 1, they can be able to promise the people of America that we can improve our AI to be able to accommodate all the children. We can come up with restrictive measures, in that if you're 13 years old, we can be able to restrict the kind of information that you receive on your news feed. And also, they can be able to maybe compensate the children who have been damaged emotionally, who have gone through mental illness because of anxiety, depression, and they can be able to monitor exactly which information goes to which person. So Meta actually has a lot of work to do before they actually go to court. So thank you everyone for listening to me. Let's see where this lawsuit is going to go, and let's see what the lawyers of Meta are going to say concerning how Instagram or Facebook runs, or how they run their business model in total. So until next time, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and most importantly, every time you come up with a different company or a different application, be sure that your application should be tightly knit or airtight to be able to avoid all of these lawsuits. But at the end of the day, even if everything is airtight, still human beings will always find a way to be able to sue you. Until next time, I'm yours truly. Bye.